it's Ileana and I'm back a little bit later than I thought. Just life threw one of those curveballs as it does. But I'm here to share a layout that I did either at the end of May or beginning of June, I can't quite remember, and posted to the Facebook group Funkit's monthly Scrapbook Challenges, which is, of course, hosted by the wonderful Jen Box. And this layout nearly didn't make it to YouTube because I was kind of done with the whole thing of I've just been recording most layouts that I've been doing and finding that I'm always on a bit of catch up, and it even frustrates me today that I'm doing the same. But the very super talented Kelly Wells Barron asked if there was a process and was very pleased to hear that I had saved the footage. So this is dedicated to Kelly Wells Barron. Thank you so much for convincing me to share. Now, I've skipped a load of process there. What I was actually doing was showing you some of the papers that I'd made. This, you might recognise, is the paper that I did the embossing, the heat embossing on. It's the yellow with the white stamping. And I'm going around with some washi, and in fact I'm going to be layering up quite a lot of washi, which isn't necessarily super sticky, so I've had to give it the old Tombow job. And this paper here is something that I made this as a kind of experiment. I think I'd got some chalk inks. I only had the pink and yellow, and I wanted to kind of get going with some of the chalk to see what it looked like on some watercolour paper, and some of the, I think, Heidi Swap stencils. Well, they could be Amy Tan's ones. I've got the two that have got the triangles. But anyway, I decided to use it here on this layout because I thought the colours went quite nicely with the direction I was taking this in. And so actually I backed that onto some... There was a pink floppy piece of paper from a really old collection of nothingness. And it's just quite fine polka dots. And then I backed that onto some insipid looking yellow, sturdier cardstock. And then the whole rest of it is layered on top of the pink. As you can pretty much see, I just thought I'd better give the explanatory note on that one. And I'm making the pictures pop a little bit because I felt they were a bit bland and seeping off into the edges a little bit. They're not particularly high quality. I printed them out on the Selfie, which I do love. Oh, flipped to one little session. I must have done this layout in a few different sittings, and this one is nighttime. As you can see, the lighting's changed just a little bit, and about all I got done was a few, I think, strips of washi, and then it all flipped back to daylight again. So that was a bit weird. I don't know what happened that day. I just seem to remember having to snatch time back then as well to scrapbook with. Anyway, so yeah, I've gone with the Amy Tan collection as best as I could, and including her lovely washi tapes that come in strips. And I'm going with some texture paste there that my mum gave me. I've mentioned that before, and it's still on the go. I still have a little bit left, actually. We're talking mid-July now, and the way I stored that was with a bit of water on top to stop it drying out, so actually it's still good. Thanks, Mum. And so I just kind of dotted around some of the... I can't remember what this Tim Holtz thing is called, but like a texture fade type of stencil or mask. And so I'm laying that piece of watercolour paper and just folding up the edges. It's quite a cheap watercolour. I got it from the Works here in Britain, and it's a bit, the word I want to say crumbly, but it's not. I think it won't come to me because I'm thinking. And so there's this vellum sheet of trusty newspaper advert that I also have brought out, and this Rise and Shine acetate labels are gorgeous, so I've made a bit of use of that since this layout, and this was my first cut into it, and I think I just went with one tag here to give a kind of subtle layering there. Brittle was the word I was looking for, by the way. So yeah, that watercolour paper is quite brittle and cracks quite easily, but I didn't mind that for the sort of textured look around the edge I was going for. And some Amy Tan bits, which are the kind of labels, as well as her Polaroid frames. So the one that says I love us, because the whole point of this was, right, these pictures were taken on a recent weekend trip to the National Trust. It might have been around the bank holiday weekend, possibly a Monday actually, and we went to Claremont Landscape Gardens. The family, we love to be out in nature and experiencing different gardens and, you know, trees, flowers, whatever. And we don't actually have the fortune of National Trust membership. Now, we do have the Wisley, which is the Royal Horticultural Society, but we don't have the National Trust. So I'm going to let you read between the lines, because there's something about my title that indicates that we would like to be, and somebody treated us to this day trip anyway. Maybe that's as far as I'll leave it. And so anyway, I'm popping a lot of this up onto Dimension because I did really want a lot of texture on this layout, and I've gone with as much as I can kind of get, like even double foam. I think on some of these I popped up once and then the matte is popped up again, and I was kind of twiddling about with all these bits that I'd cut. So this is the yellow is from the Amy Tan pad, as well as that stripy pink and green and black. That's from her 6x6 pad as well. And so yeah, I was just kind of cutting into it in a chopped up kind of fashion, along with my vellum newspaper advert, to make it all look a little bit interesting. And that's Amy Tan's washi tape there with the arrows, and again just kind of layering that up in the way that I wanted to. Now I've called it, I will actually just run ahead of myself. So the title will go down at a bit of a haphazard style, and I think I'm about to work on that. So I'm just going to say what it's called. It's called O2B, which of course is the shorthand O2B, National Trust members. And the journaling is kind of around the fact that we were trying to get all of us in the picture and we couldn't. And it says, trying to get a family selfie on a day trip to Claremont Landscape Gardens was no mean feat. I think we were all present. Well, actually, in terms of being present, Lorenz wasn't that time actually. He was just on the cusp, unfortunately, of coming down with pneumonia. So he wasn't really himself. He had a terrible cough, and unfortunately it developed into something later that week, and he had to go to hospital, folks, but he's fine. It was just a one-nighter. And so he was all moody, and in fact he had his hood up. It was a nice day, and there he is in the top left picture. Actually, you can't see it on what I'm currently doing. I'm just referring to my final layout, and he's kind of all looking a bit murky, lurking in the background a bit. Back to the layout again. That drywall tape, had been for a long time desperate to get my hands on that stuff, because I've seen some amazing layouts that some very artsy women have been producing using that stuff, and so I just thought I'd go again maximum texture and put some of that down here. Now I haven't actually gone mixed media with it. I haven't sprayed anything on top of it or put any gesso or texture paste all over it or anything like that, as I have seen done to incredible effect, and that'll be something for the future for sure. But this time I've just underlayered it with a few washi strips, the cameras that I had intended to use a bit earlier on and just had lying around, so I've whacked those on there, and the yellow. So now goes down my title. As you can see, these silhouette cut silver letters, the ones that spell out O2B at the moment, and National Trust, I've kind of flipped forward to lay those down, but I actually don't use the national out of the silver, so I'm not kind of majoring on that for my process video today. But I did use those, now where are they, Prima Marketing alphas, which are the yellow ones that spell national, and then I've used some of the yellow as best as I could to insert and make the O stand out a little bit better and the B stand out a little bit. So I've kind of gone with the gaps, the negative space, and inserted yellow just to match in with the national and the members, which are also in that lettering, that colour. So it's yellow and silver. And the silver was just created with some, I washed a bit of silver ink and some white ink, and I'm sure they're pretty much Winsor & Newton inks, over some white cardstock, and then went with my silhouette and printed out and cut out some letters. These pink leaves came with a quirky kit, so I was really pleased to get final use of those. I had used those in a previous layout during my National Scrapbooking Day kind of montage, so that was really pleasing. Love using stuff up. So this is the journaling bit, and apart from the little pearl dots you saw me using up from my old stash, this is it. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again, hopefully a lot sooner than the gap was this time. Bye for now.